I'm Larry Titus. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you feel welcome and hope you're enjoying the series, When Leaders Live Together. I was just reading this chapter that I'm going to be teaching on today, and it relates to when you live with a strong leader. I hope you've been able to get your own book, by the way, and one for your spouse so that both of you can mark it. It's very helpful. But I alluded to this in the very first chapter and the very first session when we talked about the difference between headship and leadership. I told you leadership and the responsibility of the man, because of the male gender, God has called him to be the head of the marriage. But as it relates to leadership, either of the partners can have varying degrees of effectiveness in leadership. So in some areas, my wife is better being the leader. In some areas, I'm better at being the leader. So we just divvy out those particular responsibilities according to whose ability. It seems like an easy thing to do. I don't know why couples struggle with it unless we really are jealous of the other person's abilities, or we don't want to admit that we're not as good at that as we think we are. But leadership responsibilities is an amazing thing. It's really profound, because I happen to have married a strong leader, and I'm talking about a really strong leader. Now, when we're talking about leadership, she came out of the womb as a leader. By the time she was in the fifth grade, in kindergarten, at 5 years of age, she was already leading her entire class. I think one of our great granddaughters has the same ability, but strong leadership potential. Now, I could either hamper that, I could dampen it, I could try to depress it, suppress it, but God called her to be a leader. She was not born that way because it was a choice that she made. It was God. It was God that caused her to excel in leadership. So as I was perusing this particular chapter, I just couldn't help but think of the awesome pleasure it is for me to be a point of release in her life, to be a point of support. I'm not envious of it. I'm not competitive. It's really a tremendous blessing. So I just love blessing my leadership wife. But she's a leader. Now, the amazing thing is that Debbie is completely and totally submitted to my headship. So as a very, very strong leader, shall I admit it right now, she's an extremely strong leader, in my opinion, much better than myself. But she is so submitted to my headship, and it gives me such a joy to continually honor her. There's a scripture that's found in the book of John, chapter number 3, and it's John talking about Jesus. He has already introduced Jesus several times. It's been recorded that there was conversation and baptisms of the Jordan River. Now he says, he must increase, but I must decrease. That is the hardest thing I know of for anybody to do. A husband, a pastor, a leader, a corporate man, a father, whatever the situation, because we love to be in that place of prominence. But it's not as easy for us whenever we say, no, honey, I'm so excited to see you blessed. I'm so excited to see you be honored. I'm so excited to see you get the award. It takes a big man to allow his wife to excel in her leadership without him attempting to suppress her or try to feel envious or jealous, or he's just uncomfortable with her success. We need to put that aside and say, it's great. Let her increase, that I may decrease. And if it need be that she get more notoriety, that's fine with me. In our first ministry, we had an incredible church in Washington State. We were there 12 years. Just a phenomenal move of God, like you can imagine. And toward the 11th year, I began to sense God beginning to wane. The Spirit, I began to feel a change. I began to sense the cloud moving. It seemed like things were changing. It was not the same as it had been. And I began to question the Lord, and he gave me an illustration of a carpenter in a carpenter shop. And the carpenter, to make any particular beautiful piece of furniture, he would use one tool, then he would lay it down, then he would pick it up another tool. He never used the same tool the entire time. And the Lord said, how come you're so happy when I use you? Well, whenever I lay you down and begin to pick up somebody else and use them, you're not as happy. And I said, Lord, I want to be as happy you using somebody else as when you use me. And at that particular point in time, my wife was just coming into the publishing field and became the publisher of the very first Christian women's magazine in the nation. And as I was honoring her and watching her excel, Here I felt myself going down and her going up. And I made a conscious decision, Lord, if I never come back to a place of prominence, I'm going to find the ultimate joy in lifting up my bride, my wife, watching her excel, because I know how you take one tool, because someday you'll put her down and you'll use somebody else. But I want to be that person that says, I honor you, I love you, and I support your leadership. I want to just carry you around like a beautiful tiara on a cushion. I want everybody to see you and know you. I want to brag on you everywhere I go. I want my leader wife to be able to excel without any form of manipulation, control on my part. I want my leader wife to be able to fulfill everything that God has put inside her from before she was ever born. So if you have one of these gifted women, rather than you resenting, begrudging how God's using her, I would recommend that you just be overjoyed that God has so sovereignly released your wife, and count it a joy, because whenever you begin to joy in her release, it all comes back to you. That's the way the glory works. I love you. I hope you're going to be here next time that I see you. Please check out her video as well, because it is really, really worth it. As you know, I'm her biggest fan. Well, maybe Jesus and then me. I love you. See you next time.